Okay, let's try this one last time. So, for those of you that didn't see, yesterday we went to a 6 p.m. screening of Across the Spiderverse. About an hour and 10 minutes into the movie, the fire alarm went off and they evacuated the entire cinema and the entire building, since that Cineplex is attached to like a food court and a little bit of a shopping mall and stuff like that. So, we had to get evacuated. Thankfully, everybody evacuated in a calm and like safe manner. Nobody's rushing out, there's no stampeding, so everybody was safe to leave. And based off of Toronto Fire's Twitter, it was just a false alarm. As we were leaving and just kind of like breaking out of the crowds of people, we figured, okay, let's see if we can at least snag tickets to a 10 p.m. showing. So managed to go to a 10:15 showing, didn't get home until like a little bit after 1 a.m., but that's okay. Finally got to finish the movie, and here we are. Okay, so this is the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, but it's technically part one of two of these two movies that Sony has coming out. However, part three is called Beyond the Spider-Verse, so this is the sequel, this is part two. All very confusing. This movie, though, was outstanding. It's literally everything that you loved about the first movie, but amped up to 11. And they also allowed this movie to breathe, especially from the opening sequence before we get to the opening title card. You're introduced to this movie and you're introduced to a world in this movie that just gives you a little bit more of what you wanted. And it really just helps carry the weight of the emotional impact and investment that you'll have in some of these characters throughout this movie. So I really like the way that the first chunk of this movie sort of unfolded, and as things started to accelerate, it just maintained this very intense breakneck pace pretty much until the end of the movie. Also, there are no end credit scenes in this movie, so no need to stay once the credits start rolling. The only knock that I have about this movie, and on its own, right now, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. And that half a mark that I'm knocking off is literally just because I felt that in Into the Spider-Verse, it just had more of an iconic and impacting soundtrack. This movie does a better job with the atmospheric music, with the music that you'll hear just in moments in the movie that just kind of like elevate the atmosphere and the scene that you're watching. But in the first movie, we had Home, we had What's Up Danger, we had Sunflower. We had some really, really good music that was designed for that movie. This movie was missing a little bit of that, but it's just the tiniest gripe, if you will, that I have with this movie. Outside of that, this movie, yes, it is an absolute masterpiece. By far the best movie that I've seen this year, and Into the Spider-Verse already is one of, if not my favorite movie of all time, and it's also one of the most rewatchable movies I think out there. It's still so entertaining, still so visually jaw-dropping, and pretty emotional in some moments. This movie maintains all of that, and it just gives you so much more. The visuals in this movie, somehow Sony Animations continues to just elevate it to epic proportions. I absolutely loved the color and the tone that they used to separate worlds from each other. I love how things looked in that comic-esque panel, and the 24 frames in a not 24 frame environment. The way everything just kind of moves, it looks impressive. Movie's very funny, very funny. There's a lot of heart, good amount of emotion, and a lot of maturity happening in this movie, and I really like that in certain moments throughout the movie, we do get some really tasteful callbacks to what happened in Into the Spider-Verse during certain impacting moments. Truly, I could ramble on about this movie. All I will say is that it absolutely was well worth the 5-6 years it took for the sequel to come out. I'm glad Sony and Sony Animations took their time with this movie. They gave us a lot of movie in this movie, and I'm very much looking forward to part 3 of this now trilogy next year. Thank you guys for watching. If you've checked out the movie, let me know what you guys think. If you like this movie, if you didn't like this movie, just mention that. Don't get into it. We don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.